Minimal Effort, Maximum Results, Mastering the Art of Essentialism, written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. Jim Rohn. If working harder was the key to success, most people would already be thriving. Yet, despite working longer hours, filling our schedules, and trying to keep up with endless demands, we often feel like we're barely making progress. The world tells us that doing more is the path to success, but what if that's the very thing holding us back? Think about your daily life. You answer emails as soon as they arrive, say yes to meetings you don't need to be in, and juggle tasks that seem urgent but don't actually move you forward. By the end of the day, you're drained, yet you can't point to anything truly significant you accomplished. This isn't just frustrating, it's unsustainable. The truth is, not everything is worth your time. Most of what we spend our energy on doesn't actually create meaningful results. The secret to success isn't doing more, it's doing less, but better. This is the foundation of essentialism, the disciplined pursuit of only what truly matters. This book is about reclaiming your time, focus, and energy. It's about cutting through the noise and learning how to identify the few things that make the biggest difference. You'll learn how to eliminate distractions, prioritize high-impact work, and say no without guilt. You'll also discover how to simplify your life, manage your energy, and create a routine that works for you, not against you. Imagine waking up every morning knowing exactly what deserves your attention. Imagine finishing your day with the confidence that you spent your time wisely, not just staying busy but actually making progress. That's what this book will help you achieve. You don't need more hours in the day. You need a new way of thinking. Essentialism isn't about squeezing in more, it's about letting go of the non-essential so you can focus on what truly moves the needle. The question is, are you ready to stop being busy and start being effective? If so, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Essentialist Mindset, Less but Better. There's a moment in life when we realize we've been doing it all wrong. For some, it comes after years of burnout. For others, it sneaks up quietly, the nagging feeling that no matter how much we do, we're still falling behind. The world tells us to work harder, hustle more, and add to our never-ending to-do lists. But what if the real key to success isn't doing more, but doing less better? Essentialism isn't about getting more done, it's about getting the right things done. It's a mindset shift from quantity to quality, from reactive to intentional. Most people operate under the false assumption that everything is important. They spread themselves thin, trying to tackle every opportunity, answer every email, and attend every meeting, but not everything deserves your attention. Essentialists understand that few things matter more than most things. Think of your energy like a flashlight. If you shine it wide, the light is weak and scattered. But if you focus it on one point, it becomes powerful. The same applies to your efforts. The more you focus, the greater the impact. Essentialists operate with this principle in mind. Every decision is a trade-off. Saying yes to something automatically means saying no to something else. The problem is, most people don't realize what they're sacrificing. Take the story of Lisa, a marketing executive who prided herself on being available 24/7. She responded to emails instantly, said yes to every project, and attended every meeting. On paper, she was the definition of a hard worker. But in reality, she was drowning. Her real work, strategic thinking and creative problem-solving, got lost in the chaos of constant busyness. One day, she hit a wall. Exhausted and overwhelmed, she asked herself, what if I stopped trying to do it all? Lisa decided to experiment. She stopped checking email first thing in the morning. She declined meetings that didn't require her presence. She identified the one task each day that would make the biggest impact and focused only on that. Within weeks, everything changed. Her work improved. Her stress levels dropped. She realized something profound. Productivity isn't about how much you do, it's about what you choose to do. Most of us assume we don't have a choice. We feel trapped by obligations, commitments, and expectations, but essentialists know that every action is a choice. The difference between an overwhelmed person and an essentialist isn't the amount of work, it's the ability to eliminate what doesn't matter. So how do you start thinking like an essentialist? First, pause before saying yes. When faced with a request, ask yourself, is this essential? If the answer isn't a clear yes, it's a no. Second, identify what truly moves the needle. Look at your tasks and commitments. How many are actually driving meaningful progress? Most people spend 80% of their time on low-impact activities and only 20% on what really matters. Flip that ratio. Third, embrace constraints. Instead of trying to fit more in, ask, what can I remove? Simplify your to-do list. Cut unnecessary commitments. A surprising thing happens when you adopt this mindset. You start achieving more, not because you're working harder, but because your energy is concentrated where it counts. Instead of juggling 10 projects poorly, you complete 1 or 2 with excellence. Instead of replying to every message, you focus on the conversations that truly matter. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel in control. At first, essentialism feels uncomfortable. We're wired to equate busyness with importance. But the reality is, being selective is what leads to real impact. Success isn't about doing it all, it's about doing the right things, in the right way, at the right time. Take a moment right now and reflect. What is one thing you're doing that doesn't truly serve your goals? What would happen if you simply stopped doing it? The road to essentialism starts with a single step: choosing less, but better. Chapter 2. The Power of Saying No. Most of us grew up believing that saying yes is the right thing to do. Yes to invitations, yes to extra work, yes to favors, yes to every opportunity, because saying no feels risky. We fear missing out, letting someone down, or being seen as difficult. But every yes carries a hidden cost. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't truly matter, you are saying no to something that does. The ability to say no is the foundation of essentialism. Without it, you'll always be at the mercy of other people's priorities instead of your own. Think about the last time you agreed to something you didn't want to do. Maybe it was an extra assignment at work, a last-minute favor, or a commitment that drained your time and energy. You probably felt obligated, pressured, or simply uncomfortable saying no. But here's the truth: every time you agree to something unimportant, you push aside what's truly essential. Essentialists know that saying no isn't about being difficult, it's about being clear on what matters most. Consider James, a high-performing sales executive. He was constantly overwhelmed, juggling dozens of requests, meetings, and client calls. His calendar was packed, yet he never had time for deep, strategic work. One day his mentor gave him a simple rule: before saying yes, pause and ask, if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? James started applying this rule immediately. When a meeting request came in, he asked himself whether it would truly move the needle. If not, he declined or delegated it. Within a few months, his stress dropped, his performance skyrocketed, and he realized something powerful: his success didn't depend on doing more. It depended on doing the right things. Saying no isn't always easy, but it's a skill that can be learned. One of the biggest obstacles is the fear of disappointing others. We assume people will be upset or take it personally, but in reality, most people respect clarity and decisiveness. When you decline with confidence and kindness, you earn trust, not resentment. Essentialists don't apologize for saying no. They do it gracefully, firmly, and without guilt. The best way to say no is with a simple, direct response. No over-explaining, no excuses, just a clear, confident statement. If you struggle with this, try using phrases like, I appreciate the offer, but I can't commit right now, or, that sounds great, but I have to focus on my priorities. Notice the difference between that and a weak, hesitant response like, I wish I could, but I'm really busy, maybe another time. The first response is firm and clear. The second leaves room for negotiation, making it harder to stick to your boundaries. Another challenge is the pressure to say yes out of habit. Many of us are conditioned to respond immediately, without thinking. Essentialists create a buffer between the request and the response. Instead of saying yes on the spot, they pause and assess. A simple trick is to buy yourself time. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. This prevents impulse commitments and allows you to make a decision based on what truly matters. One of the most powerful ways to enforce essentialism is by creating a personal decision filter. Before agreeing to anything, ask yourself 3 key questions. 1. Does this align with my top priorities? 2. Will this contribute to meaningful progress? 3. If I say yes, what will I have to give up? If the answer isn't a clear yes, it's a no. This mindset shift is life-changing. It allows you to protect your time, focus, and energy. Instead of being reactive, you become intentional. Instead of being overwhelmed, you feel in control. Saying no is one of the hardest but most essential skills to master. It's not about rejecting people, it's about choosing your life over other people's agendas. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Start today. Look at your commitments and identify one thing you need to say no to. Then say it, clearly, confidently, and without guilt. Chapter 3. The Myth of Multitasking. We live in a world that glorifies multitasking. We brag about our ability to juggle emails, meetings, messages, and deadlines, believing that doing more at once makes us more productive. But the truth is, multitasking is a lie. Science has proven that the human brain isn't wired to focus on multiple tasks simultaneously. What we call multitasking is actually task switching, rapidly jumping between tasks, losing efficiency with each switch. The result? We work harder, not smarter. Imagine trying to write an important report while checking emails every few minutes. Each time you switch, your brain takes time to refocus. Studies show that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to regain full concentration after an interruption. That means every time you glance at your phone or answer a quick question, your focus resets. Over a day, these small interruptions add up to hours of lost productivity. Take the example of Sarah, a software developer who prided herself on multitasking. She would write code while responding to Slack messages, checking notifications, and listening to meetings. She felt busy, but her work suffered. Small mistakes crept into her projects, and she found herself working late to fix errors she wouldn't have made if she had focused properly the first time. Frustrated, she decided to change her approach. She implemented focus blocks, uninterrupted periods where she worked on a single task with full concentration. Within weeks, her work improved, and she completed tasks faster with fewer mistakes. She realized that multitasking hadn't been making her productive, it had been slowing her down. The biggest problem with multitasking is that it gives the illusion of efficiency while actually making you less effective. It drains your mental energy and increases stress. The constant switching prevents deep thinking and creativity. Essentialists understand that real productivity comes from focused effort, not divided attention. To break free from the multitasking trap, start by recognizing when and where distractions creep in. If you're constantly interrupted by notifications, silence them. If you check emails compulsively, set specific times for them. If you find yourself doing shallow work, tasks that feel urgent but don't move the needle, pause and refocus. Train yourself to work with deep focus by eliminating unnecessary inputs. One of the best strategies to combat multitasking is time blocking. Instead of bouncing between tasks, dedicate set periods to focused work. For example, if you need to write a report, block 90 minutes to work on it without checking emails, social media, or messages. This trains your brain to stay in a state of deep work, where you produce higher quality results in less time. Essentialists design their schedules around these deep work sessions, ensuring they prioritize meaningful tasks over distractions. Another powerful technique is the single task rule. If you're eating, just eat. If you're working, just work. If you're in a conversation, be fully present. It sounds simple, but in a world where we constantly try to do multiple things at once, it takes discipline. By focusing on one thing at a time, you'll find that you get more done with less stress and higher efficiency. Think about the last time you felt truly productive. Chances are, you were deeply engaged in one task, not bouncing between 5. The key to essentialism isn't doing more, it's focusing on what matters most with undivided attention. Start today by identifying one area where you frequently multitask and commit to single tasking instead. The results will speak for themselves. Chapter 4. Identifying the vital few. Not everything deserves your time, but most people act as if everything does. We spend our days treating every task, email, and request with equal importance, spreading ourselves thin and wondering why we never feel in control. But essentialists understand a fundamental truth: not all efforts produce equal results. A few key actions drive the most meaningful results, while everything else is just distraction. The secret to essentialism is knowing how to separate the few that truly matter from the many that don't. This is the essence of the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, where 20% of effort leads to 80% of success. In business, a small group of customers generates the bulk of revenue. In relationships, a handful of people bring the greatest joy. In productivity, a select few tasks create the biggest impact. The goal isn't to do more, it's to focus on what moves the needle and eliminate the rest. The problem is, most people spend their time on the wrong 80%, low-value tasks that keep them busy but not effective. Essentialists do the opposite. They identify the vital few tasks that drive the biggest results and eliminate or delegate the rest. Consider Mark, a startup founder who worked 12-hour days, but felt like he was running in circles. He was constantly checking emails, jumping between projects, and attending unnecessary meetings. Frustrated, he decided to track how he spent his time. The results shocked him. Only a handful of activities actually moved his business forward. The rest, email threads, social media, low-impact meetings, were distractions disguised as work. Mark made a bold decision. He cut his to-do list in half, delegated non-essential tasks, and focused exclusively on the highest impact work. The result? He accomplished more in fewer hours, and his company grew faster than ever. The challenge isn't working harder, it's working on the right things. To identify your vital few, ask yourself 3 key questions. What activities drive real progress? What tasks bring the highest return on effort? What commitments align with my biggest goals? If a task doesn't pass this test, it's a distraction, let it go. Another way to filter the vital few is by using the priority test. When faced with a task, rate it from 1 to 10 in importance. If it's not a 9 or 10, it's a distraction. Most people get stuck in the gray zone, spending time on things that feel important but aren't truly essential. Essentialists are ruthless about eliminating the middle ground. If it's not an obvious yes, it's a no. One mistake people make is assuming they need more time to be productive. But the truth is, you don't need more time, you need more focus. If you had only 1 hour per day to work, what would you focus on? That's your essential task. Everything else is secondary. Essentialists operate with intentional constraint, forcing themselves to prioritize what matters most instead of trying to fit in everything. Distractions aren't just external, they're also internal. Many people fill their schedules with non-essential work to avoid the discomfort of tackling the truly important. Checking emails feels productive, but it's not the same as doing deep, strategic work. Saying yes to every request makes you feel needed, but it prevents real progress. Essentialists resist these temptations by constantly asking, is this the most valuable use of my time right now? If the answer is no, they pivot. Mastering essentialism isn't about doing more, it's about choosing wisely. Take a moment right now. Look at your to-do list, your calendar, or your inbox. Identify one task that is truly essential, something that will drive meaningful progress. Now identify one task that is just noise. Remove it. Repeat this every day, and over time you'll transform the way you work, focus, and achieve results. The path to doing more with less isn't about squeezing in more effort, it's about focusing only on the vital few. Chapter 5. Eliminating the non-essential. Most people believe success comes from adding more projects, more tasks, more commitments. But essentialists know that true progress comes from subtracting. The more clutter we remove from our lives, the more energy we have to focus on what truly matters. The problem isn't that we don't have enough time, it's that we waste too much of it on the non-essential. Think about your daily routine. How many tasks do you do out of habit rather than necessity? How many emails do you check that don't need immediate attention? How much time do you spend on things that don't move you forward? Essentialism isn't just about choosing the right things, it's about cutting the wrong things. If something isn't essential, it's a distraction. Take David, a manager who felt constantly overwhelmed. His calendar was packed, his inbox was flooded, and his to-do list never ended. He assumed the solution was better time management, but no matter how much he optimized, he still felt behind. Then he made a radical shift. He stopped managing time and started eliminating. He unsubscribed from unnecessary emails, removed half his meetings, and stopped responding to low-priority messages. Instead of trying to do everything more efficiently, he focused only on what mattered. Within weeks, his productivity soared, and his stress plummeted. The breakthrough? The key to doing more wasn't doing more, it was doing less. Eliminating the non-essential starts with questioning everything. Most of what fills our schedules is by default, not by design. We accept unnecessary meetings, keep cluttered inboxes, and say yes out of obligation. But essentialists don't default to yes, they default to no. They constantly ask, does this need to be done? If I stop doing this, what would happen if the answer is nothing? It's time to let it go. One of the fastest ways to free up time is the zero-based approach. Instead of assuming you need to do everything you're currently doing, start from zero. If you had to rebuild your schedule from scratch, what would you keep? What would you eliminate? Most people are shocked to realize that at least 50% of their tasks don't truly matter. Another powerful strategy is the not-to-do list. Instead of adding more tasks, create a list of things you will no longer do. This could include checking social media during work hours, attending unproductive meetings, or answering emails outside set times. Essentialists know that success is about protecting their focus, not just managing their time. Physical clutter is another form of non-essentialism. A messy workspace creates mental chaos. A cluttered digital life, endless files, notifications, and apps, distracts from real priorities. Simplifying your environment makes it easier to focus. Try this: clean your workspace, delete unnecessary apps, and unsubscribe from emails that don't add value. Small changes compound into massive clarity. Saying no to non-essential work also means setting firm boundaries. Essentialists don't allow their time to be hijacked. They protect their calendars, set limits on availability, and communicate clear expectations. If someone asks for your time, don't default to yes. Instead, pause and ask, is this essential? If not, say no politely, but firmly. The biggest challenge in eliminating the non-essential is fear. Fear of missing out, fear of disappointing others, fear of letting go. But the reality is, every non-essential task you eliminate creates space for something better. Instead of fearing what you might lose, focus on what you'll gain: clarity, focus, energy, and progress. Look at your current commitments. Identify one task, meeting, or obligation that doesn't truly matter. Now remove it. The first step toward essentialism isn't doing more, it's doing less better. Chapter 6. Designing an essentialist routine. Most people wake up and immediately react. They check emails, respond to messages, and dive into the day without a clear direction. Their schedule controls them instead of the other way around. But essentialists don't leave their time to chance. They design their day with intention. The difference between feeling overwhelmed and feeling in control isn't about working harder, it's about creating a routine that prioritizes what truly matters. A well-structured routine removes decision fatigue. Every day we make thousands of small decisions, each draining our mental energy. What to eat, what to wear, when to work out, when to check emails, these micro-decisions add up. Essentialists simplify their routines so they can save their energy for what truly matters. They don't waste time on minor choices. Instead, they create habits that make high-impact work automatic. Take Michael, a business consultant who used to start his mornings by checking emails. Before he even got out of bed, his mind was hijacked by other people's priorities. He'd spend hours reacting to messages, then scramble to complete important work in the afternoon. One day he decided to flip his routine. He started blocking off his mornings for deep work, delaying emails and meetings until noon. The shift was dramatic. His productivity skyrocketed. Instead of spending his best hours on shallow tasks, he protected them for meaningful work. The most effective routines follow a simple structure: morning focus, midday execution, evening reflection. Mornings should be reserved for deep work, high-impact tasks that require concentration. Midday is for execution, meetings, collaboration, and operational work. Evenings are for reflection, planning, learning, and unwinding. By structuring the day this way, essentialists ensure that what matters most gets done first. Another key principle is time blocking. Essentialists don't rely on willpower to get things done, they schedule their priorities. They block off time for focused work, thinking, and even rest. Without time blocks, the day gets filled with urgent but unimportant tasks. Instead of saying, "I'll work on this when I have time," essentialists say, "This is when I will work on this." One of the biggest threats to an effective routine is constant interruptions. Most people let emails, notifications, and requests dictate their time. Essentialists do the opposite. They create distraction-free zones, turning off notifications, setting boundaries, and focusing on one task at a time. They understand that deep work is impossible without deep focus. A powerful exercise is the ideal day design. Imagine you had complete control over your schedule. How would you structure your day? What would you eliminate? Most people realize they spend too much time on shallow work, meetings, emails, and administrative tasks, leaving little time for meaningful progress. Essentialists flip this. They design their schedule around their highest priorities first, letting everything else fit around them. Another critical aspect of an essentialist routine is rest and renewal. Most people treat sleep and downtime as luxuries, but essentialists see them as non-negotiable. Just like an athlete needs recovery time to perform at their best, high achievers need rest to sustain their focus. Burning out isn't a sign of dedication, it's a sign of poor prioritization. Essentialists schedule intentional breaks, protect their sleep, and unplug from work when needed. The first step in designing an essentialist routine is identifying your most important work. What task, if done consistently, would create the biggest impact? Block out time for it. Then, eliminate or delegate anything that competes with that priority. The goal isn't to cram more into your day, it's to create space for what truly matters. Take a moment right now. Look at your schedule. What's one thing you can remove to free up time for high-impact work? The path to essentialism isn't about finding time, it's about making time for what matters most. Chapter 7. The Role of Rest and Recovery. Most people believe that success requires constant hustle. They wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, equating busyness with productivity. But essentialists understand a powerful truth: rest isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Just as an elite athlete needs recovery to perform at their best, high achievers need intentional rest to sustain focus, creativity, and long-term success. The modern world is designed for burnout. We check emails late at night, answer messages during meals, and treat weekends as extra workdays. We push through fatigue, convincing ourselves that we can rest later. But the truth is, pushing harder doesn't always lead to better results. Essentialists know that without proper rest, performance declines, creativity fades, decision-making suffers, and productivity plummets. Rest isn't the opposite of work, it's what makes great work possible. Consider Alex, a driven entrepreneur who prided himself on working 16-hour days. He rarely took breaks, believing that more hours meant more success. Over time, his energy waned. Simple decisions became difficult, and his creativity disappeared. Frustrated, he decided to experiment. He started taking scheduled breaks, setting strict work boundaries, and prioritizing sleep. Within weeks, everything changed. He was sharper, more efficient, and, ironically, getting more done in less time. The key insight? Working less, but smarter, produced better results than grinding endlessly. One of the most overlooked forms of rest is sleep. Many people sacrifice sleep for productivity, but studies show that sleep deprivation impairs focus, creativity, and decision-making. Essentialists protect their sleep like they protect their work. They set consistent sleep schedules, eliminate late-night screen time, and create bedtime routines that signal their brain to unwind. Sleep isn't wasted time, it's the foundation of peak performance. Another crucial form of recovery is mental rest. In today's world, our minds are constantly overstimulated. Social media, endless notifications, and non-stop information bombard us from all directions. Essentialists understand that mental clutter is just as harmful as physical clutter. They schedule quiet moments, time away from screens, reflection breaks, and digital detoxes. These moments create space for clarity, creative thinking, and deep problem solving. Rest also includes intentional disengagement from work. Many people struggle to unplug, fearing they'll fall behind, but studies show that detachment enhances performance. Essentialists set clear work boundaries. They don't check emails during dinner. They don't work late into the night. They create hard stops in their day to recharge, knowing that downtime fuels high performance. One of the most powerful ways to integrate rest is the 90-20 rule. Instead of working for hours without a break, essentialists work in 90-minute focus blocks, followed by 20-minute recovery breaks. This cycle mimics the body's natural rhythms, sustaining energy levels throughout the day. Instead of grinding endlessly, they work with their biology, not against it. Physical movement is another critical form of rest. Exercise isn't just about fitness, it's about mental renewal. A simple walk can reset the brain, boost creativity, and enhance focus. Essentialists integrate movement into their day, using it as a tool for clarity and energy management. Reflection is also a form of rest. Many people rush from task to task without stopping to evaluate progress. Essentialists carve out time for daily reflection, reviewing what worked, what didn't, and what needs adjustment. This small habit prevents wasted effort and ensures they stay aligned with their highest priorities. The most important shift is seeing rest as an investment, not a weakness. Essentialists know that rest amplifies results. They don't wait until burnout forces them to slow down, they build recovery into their schedule. The challenge isn't working harder, it's sustaining high performance over the long run. Take a moment to assess your habits. Are you constantly running on empty? What's one way you can start prioritizing rest today? The secret to achieving more with less isn't working longer, it's strategically integrating rest into your life. Chapter 8. Essentialism in Decision Making. Every day we make thousands of decisions: what to wear, what to eat, when to respond to emails, which tasks to tackle first. Most of these decisions seem small, but over time, they drain our mental energy and contribute to overwhelm. Essentialists approach decision-making differently. Instead of reacting to every choice, they create systems and filters that simplify decisions and eliminate unnecessary ones. They don't just decide faster, they decide better. Most people suffer from decision fatigue, the gradual decline in decision-making ability after making too many choices. The more decisions you make, the harder each one becomes. That's why many high achievers, like Steve Jobs and Barack Obama, wore the same outfit every day. By removing trivial choices, they saved their mental energy for high-impact decisions. Essentialists apply the same principle, reducing decision overload by setting clear priorities, routines, and boundaries. Consider Rachel, a project manager drowning in daily decisions. She spent hours answering emails, scheduling meetings, and prioritizing tasks, leaving little time for real work. She realized she needed a system, so she adopted decision batching, grouping similar decisions together and handling them all at once. Instead of responding to emails throughout the day, she designated 2 time blocks for email. Instead of deciding what to work on each morning, she planned her priorities in advance. These small shifts freed up her mind for deep, focused work. One of the most powerful tools essentialists use is the 10-10-10 rule. When faced with a tough decision, they ask, how will I feel about this in 10 minutes? In 10 months? In 10 years? This simple framework cuts through short-term emotions and helps clarify the long-term impact of a choice. Most of the time, decisions that seem urgent in the moment are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Essentialists train themselves to step back and evaluate decisions with perspective. Another powerful filter is the essentialist test. When considering a new opportunity, ask, does this align with my highest priorities? Will this create meaningful progress? If I say yes, what will I have to sacrifice if the answer isn't a resounding yes? It's a no. Essentialists know that every yes comes with a cost, so they choose carefully. A common decision-making trap is paralysis by analysis, overthinking simple choices and delaying action. Essentialists avoid this by setting decision deadlines. They give themselves a set amount of time to research, weigh options, and then commit. They don't waste energy second-guessing or revisiting past choices. They make the best decision they can with the information they have and move forward. Another strategy is defaulting to simplicity. When faced with multiple options, essentialists ask, what's the simplest path to the best outcome? Complexity often leads to hesitation, while simplicity creates clarity. By eliminating unnecessary steps, they reduce friction and take action faster. Eliminating low-value decisions also means outsourcing and automating. Essentialists don't waste time on tasks that others can handle. They delegate, use technology to automate repetitive tasks, and set up systems that minimize decision-making. This frees up their focus for what truly matters. A major reason people struggle with decision-making is fear of making the wrong choice. But essentialists recognize that progress is better than perfection. No decision is final, and most choices can be adjusted along the way. Instead of chasing the perfect option, they commit to the best available option and refine it as needed. Take a moment and reflect on your own decision-making habits. How many unnecessary choices are draining your mental energy? What small decisions can you eliminate, batch, or automate? The key to essentialism isn't making more decisions, it's making fewer, better decisions. Chapter 9. Managing energy, not time. Most people believe productivity is about managing time. They create schedules, set deadlines, and try to squeeze as much as possible into each day. But essentialists know that time management is useless without energy management. Time is fixed, but energy fluctuates. If you don't have the energy to focus, even the best time management strategies won't help. Instead of trying to maximize hours, essentialists focus on optimizing their energy for peak performance. Think about the last time you felt mentally exhausted. Even simple tasks felt difficult. Now think about a time when you were full of energy, work flowed effortlessly, ideas came easily, and you accomplished more in less time. The difference wasn't time. It was energy. Essentialists structure their day around their energy levels, ensuring their most important work gets done when they're at their best. Consider Jake, a financial analyst who worked long hours but struggled to stay productive. He often scheduled deep work in the afternoon, when his energy was low. By the time he got to important tasks, he was mentally drained. One day he decided to track his energy levels throughout the day. He discovered that his peak focus period was early morning, while his lowest energy hit after lunch. He made a simple change. He scheduled his most important work in the morning and saved emails, calls, and meetings for later. The result? He worked fewer hours but got more done. The key to energy management is understanding your natural rhythm. Everyone has a biological prime time, the time of day when they're most alert and focused. For some, it's early morning. For others, it's late at night. Essentialists identify their peak hours and protect them for deep work. They don't waste high-energy periods on low-value tasks. Energy is also affected by food, sleep, movement, and recovery. Most people rely on caffeine and willpower to push through fatigue, but essentialists fuel their body for sustainable energy. They eat nutrient-dense foods, stay hydrated, and avoid sugar crashes. They recognize that movement isn't just for fitness, it's an energy booster. A short walk, stretching, or even standing up for a few minutes can reset the brain and improve focus. One of the biggest energy drains is decision fatigue. Every choice, what to wear, what to eat, what to work on, depletes mental energy. Essentialists reduce unnecessary decisions by automating routines. They plan meals in advance, create a structured morning routine, and set priorities the night before. By eliminating trivial decisions, they save energy for high-impact work. Another overlooked factor is mental clutter. Constant notifications, unread messages, and a chaotic workspace drain energy. Essentialists minimize distractions, keep their environment simple, and limit information overload. They know that mental clarity leads to better focus. Rest and recovery are non-negotiable. Essentialists schedule short breaks throughout the day to recharge. They use the 90-20 rule, 90 minutes of deep work followed by a 20-minute break. They take full rest days to avoid burnout. They treat sleep as a priority, recognizing that a well-rested mind is far more effective than an overworked one. One of the most powerful ways to manage energy is matching tasks to energy levels. Essentialists don't waste peak hours on busy work. They reserve high-energy periods for thinking, problem-solving, and deep work. Low-energy periods are used for admin tasks, emails, and routine work. This simple shift can double or triple productivity without adding extra hours. Take a moment to assess your own energy patterns. When are you at your best? When do you feel drained? Identify one simple change you can make, whether it's shifting your schedule, taking strategic breaks, or improving sleep. Essentialism isn't about working more hours, it's about maximizing the energy you have. Chapter 10. Essentialism in Relationships. Success isn't just about what we accomplish, it's also about the relationships we cultivate. Yet most people spread themselves thin, maintaining surface-level connections while neglecting the relationships that truly matter. Essentialists take a different approach. They understand that not all relationships are equal, and they invest deeply in the few that bring the most meaning, fulfillment, and impact. Many people say yes to every social invitation, respond to every request, and maintain connections out of obligation rather than genuine care. They feel drained by endless social commitments yet guilty at the thought of stepping back. But essentialists recognize that time spent on unfulfilling relationships is time taken away from meaningful ones. They make intentional choices about who they give their energy to. Consider Emma, a corporate executive who attended every networking event, answered every email, and kept up with an overwhelming number of acquaintances. Despite being constantly surrounded by people, she felt disconnected and exhausted. She decided to shift her approach. Instead of trying to maintain weak ties with hundreds of people, she focused on strengthening the 5 most important relationships in her life. She scheduled regular deep conversations with close friends, dedicated quality time to family, and let go of relationships that no longer aligned with her values. The result? She felt more connected, energized, and fulfilled than ever before. One of the hardest but most important lessons of essentialism is that you can't be everything to everyone. Many people struggle with relationship clutter, keeping people in their lives out of guilt, history, or obligation rather than genuine connection. Essentialists practice relationship auditing, evaluating which relationships bring joy, growth, and mutual value, and which ones drain energy or create unnecessary stress. They prioritize relationships that are reciprocal, meaningful, and supportive. Setting boundaries is a crucial skill in maintaining essential relationships. Many people fear saying no to social requests, believing they'll offend others or miss out. But constantly saying yes leads to resentment, burnout, and shallow connections. Essentialists understand that protecting their time isn't selfish, it's necessary. They say no to casual invites if it means saying yes to quality time with their closest people. They decline draining relationships to make space for deeper, more fulfilling ones. Another key to essentialist relationships is being fully present. Many people are physically there, but mentally elsewhere, checking their phone during conversations, half listening while thinking about work, or socializing out of habit rather than true connection. Essentialists give their full attention to the people who matter most. They silence distractions, engage in deep conversations, and make the people they're with feel truly seen and valued. One of the most overlooked aspects of essentialism in relationships is learning to let go. Some relationships naturally evolve, while others fade. Essentialists don't cling to relationships out of fear of change. They understand that not all connections are meant to last forever. Letting go isn't about cutting people off, it's about recognizing when a relationship has run its course and making peace with it. Another key practice is creating intentional rituals with important people. Essentialists schedule regular time for their closest relationships, weekly coffee chats with a mentor, Sunday dinners with family, monthly getaways with a partner. These rituals create consistency and strengthen bonds in a way that casual interactions never can. Take a moment to reflect on your own relationships. Who in your life brings the most joy, growth, and meaning? Who drains your energy or no longer aligns with your values? What relationships need more investment, and which ones need boundaries? Essentialism isn't just about focusing on the right work, it's about focusing on the right people. The relationships you nurture today will shape your life far more than any achievement ever could. Chapter 11. The Freedom of Doing Less. Most people believe success comes from doing more tasks, more commitments, more responsibilities. But essentialists understand a simple truth: doing less creates freedom. The freedom to focus, the freedom to breathe, the freedom to enjoy life without being buried under obligations. The secret isn't in adding, it's in subtracting. Many people resist doing less because they fear they won't be seen as productive or valuable. Society rewards busyness, making us feel guilty for resting or simplifying. But busyness and productivity are not the same. Essentialists reject the idea that more equals better. They know that success isn't about how much you do, it's about how much impact you create with the few things you choose to do. Take Daniel, a high-achieving professional who prided himself on multitasking. His schedule was packed from morning to night, with barely a moment to pause. He believed that saying yes to everything would open doors, but instead, it left him exhausted. One day, he decided to experiment. He cut his commitments in half. He declined non-essential meetings, delegated tasks, and focused only on high-impact work. The result? His stress disappeared, his creativity soared, and he performed better than ever. He realized that his value wasn't measured by how much he did, but by the results he created. Doing less isn't about being lazy, it's about being strategic. Essentialists focus on quality over quantity. Instead of juggling 10 projects at once, they pour their energy into 1 or 2 high-impact projects. Instead of attending every meeting, they attend only the ones where their presence truly matters. Instead of cluttering their schedules with busy work, they create space for deep thinking, reflection, and creativity. One of the greatest freedoms of doing less is the ability to think clearly. When your mind isn't cluttered with endless to-do lists, you make better decisions. You stop rushing from task to task and start working with intention. Essentialists don't just react to life, they design it. Another powerful benefit of doing less is emotional freedom. Many people feel trapped by obligations they don't even enjoy. They say yes out of guilt, fear, or habit, but essentialists free themselves from this cycle. They say no to what doesn't serve them, allowing them to say yes to what truly matters. Minimalism isn't just for physical spaces, it applies to time, commitments, and even thoughts. Essentialists declutter every aspect of their lives. They simplify their routines, reduce distractions, and create systems that eliminate unnecessary complexity. The result is clarity, focus, and peace of mind. One of the most overlooked benefits of doing less is having more time for what brings joy. Many people are so busy they forget to enjoy life. Essentialists carve out time for rest, hobbies, and relationships. They understand that life isn't just about work, it's about living with purpose and fulfillment. The biggest challenge in doing less is letting go of the need to prove yourself. Many people overcommit because they believe busyness equals worth, but essentialists know that impact speaks louder than effort. They focus on results, not hours worked. They prioritize well-being over burnout. Take a moment to reflect. What commitments, tasks, or habits are draining you without adding real value? What would happen if you let them go? The freedom of doing less isn't about laziness, it's about unlocking your full potential by focusing only on what truly matters. The less you carry, the further you go. Take care, and be well.